Hello everybody and welcome to the Parker Street Food Company. My name is Damien and today I'm going to show you how to make a classic pork rillette. Now that might be a bit of a foreign word to some people, but a rillette quite simply is a potted meat based on old world preservation techniques by which we're going to salt some meat here and then cook it slowly in its own fat for hours and hours by way of preservation, cooking out all of the moisture and replacing that with the fat. In and amongst all of that we're going to add some beautiful flavours. These sorts of recipes have been done for thousands of years, and well before refrigeration, people used to do this type of cookery to sustain themselves throughout the winter. Today, we don't need to do that because we have refrigeration, but it tastes great, and that's why we do it. I'm starting here with a kilo of pork scotch or pork neck, a beautiful worked muscle, plenty of flavour. To that, I'm going to add some green salt. Now, before I do that, I'll just explain. The green salt, what I have here, is a beautiful sea salt which I've seasoned with garlic, thyme and parsley and a little bit of brown sugar just to reduce the harshness of the salt in there. And this is a great way to introduce that herbaceous flavour into the rillette while it's cooking. 15 grams of salt. I've got some extra garlic here, 10 grams of garlic. To that we're going to add some white pepper, some ground cloves, a couple of bay leaves, and then to that I've got a little bit of white wine in here. Now the white wine just adds a bit of acidity to cut through that richness. In like so, I'm going to mix all of this together to make sure all of those flavours are fully incorporated. And then into my pot. If you have the chance to season this and marinate it an hour or so before you cook it, it only enhances the flavour. Okay, so in here, all of my ingredients, and to that, I'm going to add an amount of water. Now the idea of the water here is it acts as a temperature regulator. It's going to slowly boil away through the fat, through the lard here, so that it doesn't deep fry or allow the meat to go crispy. So in with the lard, and then onto the stove. Now this is going to slow cook on your stove for about 2 to 4 hours until the meat falls apart. The word rillette refers to the philandrous nature that the meat becomes after that slow cooking, not dissimilar to pulled pork or pulled beef, where it breaks down into its individual fibres. It's those fibres that are the rillettes. Because of the length of cooking time here, you need to have a look every now and then just to make sure that there's still water in there so that the meat doesn't start to go crispy or stick on the bottom. You can tell if it has got water in there because the mixture is cloudy. The liquid in there is cloudy as it cooks, and once that water evaporates and the liquid evaporates, then the fat becomes clear, like a deep fryer. Okay, so if your meat is still firm to touch and hasn't started to fall apart, just add a little bit more water. The idea is at the end is you want all of that water to be cooked out and the beautiful flavours, the meat and the fat remain. The fat here, by the way, can be purchased from supermarkets. York Foods is now producing pork lard and it can be found in the butter section of the supermarket. Okay, onto the stove. Now 2 to 4 hours, like I said. Here's another one that I prepared earlier. Okay, so in here, this has been cooking away for hours and hours here. So you can see that the meat, just by stirring it already, is starting to fall apart without any effort on my behalf whatsoever. I'm just going to pull out the bay leaves. In here. And now I'm going to add the zest of one orange. And this is going to brighten the whole thing up. It's not necessary, and it's probably not traditional, but I like that beautiful little freshness that goes with it, and it helps to clear the palate, clean the palate as you eat it. So like I said, this is based on old world preservation techniques, and people would have put this in their larder over the winter, and then they could just take from the pot as they wished throughout the season to sustain themselves. You have to appreciate that that larder would be something like a refrigerator anyway in a European setting. But for us, what we're going to do here is we're just going to stir this meat here and using the back of the spoon, start to break it up And if we wanted to, we could leave it as it is now, okay? It's still classified as a rillette, even with the coarseness in there. Or you can keep working this until it breaks down into individual fibres that are the rillettes. So once you have it to the texture that you want, we're going to simply pop this up. So taking my little earthenware crocks here like so, I'm just going to start spooning this meat, stirring regularly so that we can distribute that fat throughout the rillette, because we want to make sure that they're all nice and even. And pushing down here to remove any air out of here as well, just to help with that preservation process. Now this is not a shelf-stable product, you know, and I would say that if you were doing this at home with all of the correct hygiene techniques, washing and not double handling or anything like that, that this might last in your refrigerator, you know, for 3 to 4 weeks, and using your common sense to make sure that it is still fine to eat. So filling it up like so. And then here's the one that I prepared earlier. To complete the rillette, what I'm going to do is simply take the fat, some extra fat here that I have, and I'm going to pour that over the top to create a seal, which is also going to help with that preservation technique. So we want to get a nice thin layer of lard over here. Now, I can also understand you might be thinking this is a lot of fat that's going on, and I do agree, it is, but it's necessary for this dish, and it's not the sort of thing that you eat every day. This is a pleasure, this is a luxury these days. This is not just pure necessity, this is delicious. For us, or for me here at the Parker Street Food Company, maybe some cornichons and a cracker, eaten at room temperature. So if you've got it in your fridge, pop it out of the fridge maybe half an hour before you want to serve it. A bit of fresh bread, baguette or something like that. Simply using a knife, cut into there, spread that onto your bread, add yourself a cornichon, and away you go. Now this recipe will be on our website, so please look for the link and get on there. And I really appreciate you joining us today. Look forward to seeing you next time.